Welcome to Megapath Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk the rise of Maggie Greene, her overall story coming up in Season 7. Now, I want to do a couple different videos for the rise of Maggie Greene. One is going to be specifically more editing, more like a documentary. I have this idea. I might not get to it, but I do have an idea, kind of like a character portrait, building her up, but also hinting at what kind of leader could this person be. But for right now, I just want to have a brief conversation with you guys. I promised this video yesterday, and then I got like a migraine and had a whole bunch of stuff to do, so let's knock this out, because I think what's coming up for Maggie is low-key some epic shit. However, I think the epicness isn't going to hit till Season 8. But what's happening in Season 7 is very important. Consider this planting the seeds for the green to grow. Yeah, that works. Whatever. We have to do two different discussions. Real quick, we'll do a brief explanation for the TV-only fans, and then we'll transition over to the comic and TV fans, because I don't want to spoil some comic book stuff for the TV-only fans. So right now, TV-only zone, if you could do me a huge favor, and the family down below, the Walking Dead family down below, put a comic spoiler tag if you're going to talk about comic spoilers. Just help us out. It helps us out, you know? Anyway, for Maggie Greene, she's going to, and I've seen this question asked a lot. I was surprised. No, Rick isn't making her walk to the hilltop alone. She's actually taken the truck that Negan gave them. He gave them a truck to take she's taken Glenn's body and Abraham's body, and Sasha's going with her. Those four are going to go up to the hilltop. And then Rick and group are going to go to Alexandria. Now, as far as Sasha being there, Sasha is not a comic book character. Sasha was not there during the comic book storyline. So all this is new. We don't know how long Sasha's going to stay by Maggie's side. I would actually love to see if they became best friends at the hilltop and Sasha stayed with her there permanently. I've made up my mind because of all the build-up they did with her and Sasha. Just go back and watch Season 5, Episode 12. It's them. Whatever episode is them. Go back and watch that one. Watch one or two leading up to that too. After Beth dies, just watch between that and them. You'll notice some powerful stuff even after that, between specifically Maggie and Sasha. You'll see some seeds being planted for this death. So for anyone wondering when they were planting those, Robert Kirkman came out and said, I believe Kirkman and Gimple said they were discussing this for 2 years. If that is the case, then they would have had the seeds planting around Season 5. So that would be Season 5 and Season 6, and then up till now. So all that stuff with Sasha and Maggie back then, that was planting the seeds for the story to come in Season 7. I think that shit is epic. So sometimes when people say, oh, it's gore porn, and they don't look at the writing, they do the weak way out. For those who even say it's predictable, well, if you're following the seeds, then yeah, it might have been predictable. I think looking at that alone, it is predictable, but it might fit the story, and the potential might be there in a greater amount than anybody else. Now, when Maggie goes to the hilltop, she is definitely going to need to heal, not just physically because she's physically sick, but she just lost the last anything in her life. She lost her father a little while ago. Keep in mind, it hasn't been a long time. It's been a long time for us as fans, but for her, it's only been like 6 months. She lost her father, then she lost her sister, now she lost the love of her life, which was Glenn. But the positive side is she has a piece of him inside her, their unborn child growing in her belly. So as she's healing, she's going to have this, raging fire that's next to her baby, her unborn child, in her belly to get better, to grow, to figure out what they can do to take Negan out. Now, where she's at, this isn't a community that is known for their military, especially their leader. Their leader has shown us that he can be a pretty big coward who puts on a pretty loud front. Now it's up to Maggie, Sasha, and I'm hoping with the help of Jesus, it's up to them to maybe either do some undercover shit working with Rick Grimes, or to recruit people and to build a level of respect within the community to where the people at the hilltop will start looking at Maggie with more respect than they are with Gregory. I think that is some epic underlining story, and I say the underlining story because we'll have all this stuff popping off. Some stuff might be more interesting, depending on how much they bring to the from the comic into the show. The seeds that they're planting, it's stuff that is set up for maybe later in season 7, if we get it sooner, but we might even get it all the way in season 8. So you got to be in it for the long haul. Don't expect Maggie to be queen shit in 2 or 3 episodes. She needs to heal physically and mentally. You know, she needs to get to know some of the people there. She needs to get a lot done in order for her to be in that position. Now, we are going to transition over to the comic book spoilers, so if you don't want to hear that, leave now, but definitely leave your thoughts and opinions. How excited are you for Maggie Greene's story? I am, because of the seeds that are being planted for her future storyline, because I think the actress has the ability and the potential and the range as an actress to do some pretty epic shit. I don't think we fully understand yet that we, over this course of how many seasons, since the 2nd season, we are watching this woman who was the farmer's daughter. You know what I mean? She lost everything along the way. You know, and other characters have as well, but I'm just saying, it seems like this woman has lost a lot even recently, and a lot in the world of The Walking Dead. We're not talking about people who lost family and loved ones off screen before everything happened and yada yada yada, but this is a person who has lost a lot, and she has a lot to live for. She has this unborn child, and she'll be damned if she's going to give birth to this child and have the last, you know, essence of Glenn in the child living in a world that's run by a madman that killed that child's father. You know what I mean? That's not how Maggie sees the future of the world. So she's going to do what she needs to do to put that shit to an end. All right, so leave your thoughts and opinions down below. We're going to transition over to the comic book stuff. So leave now if you don't want to hear that, or pause this while you're leaving a comment. Okay, so for comic book fans, I don't want to be repetitive, so I'm not going to cover all the stuff we covered before. If you're a comic book fan, you've read the comic book, and you know what comes as far as Maggie's story. What we have to understand, though, and remember, because sometimes we forget, I've forgotten too, I forgot a lot of specifically Glenn's character in the comic and how much Steven Yeun has changed that character just with his amazing abilities on screen to make that character his own. Not only that, but the writing team as well. They really made a more likable and a tougher and a more kick-ass, a more loyal, a more daring, a bigger risk taker. I mean, he's the man on the show. He was good in the comic, but the writing and the actor himself made him a beast. So it's easy for me to sometimes forget. So as well as you guys might sometimes forget too, the Maggie in the comic, the one who got up and who was mad at Rick and smacked Rick for letting Glenn get killed. Say that 10 times fast. But the Maggie in the show, she's the one who made the deal. You know, don't forget this. She made the deal. You have Daryl amping the deal up. He was the one saying, well, you know what, you give us half your shit, whatever. I forget who said what, but keep in mind, in the comic book, this was like all Rick going, no, we're doing this, we're doing that. Then he asked everybody, is this what you want to do? And they said, no, we'll follow you. So this Maggie was a person who, after she lost her family, comic book Maggie, she tried to kill herself. Then she was like, no, Glenn, you're my world, yada, yada, yada. With the TV show, they're all making decisions. They're all guilty in their own sort of way. You know, every single one of them. Maggie, Daryl, Rick, the most guilty that pops off at the top of my head. Now, in the comic book, right, you have Rick covering the shots, calling the shots. The majority of the shots are coming up with the plans. But Maggie, her character, herself, did something very badass in the prison. She killed the person who killed her sisters. That was a little hint of the Maggie we're going to get issues and issues and issues later on. This is the same Maggie who was not a fighter. She, at the time that she was kneeling before Negan, she was not a fighter. She was not a warrior. She was not a leader. Not at all. However, in the TV show, she's a bigger fighter, a better fighter, a better leader. You know, she is a better version. Well, I don't want to make it seem like that, but this is a better all-around Maggie. So we're going to get a Maggie who isn't going to put up with Gregory's shit like comic book Maggie. Comic book Maggie was like, assuming Gregory is similar to Rick if he's leading, she's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about this Negan guy? Gregory's like, oh, nothing. And she's like, fucking what? You know what I mean? We are going to get a Maggie who's like, oh, I might just slit your throat in your sleep, you son of a bitch. Maybe not to that extent, but let's keep in mind, there's a clear difference between Maggie in the comic and Maggie in the show. So Maggie in the show, she's going to put in work. You know, she will go around Gregory's back. She will get together with Jesus, with Sasha. She will rally the troops. She had a little bit of training dealing with communities under Deanna. So right now, we are witnessing the rise of Maggie Greene. This has been set up for 2 seasons now. It was set up in Alexandria, and it's been set up a little more when they first had their introduction to the Hilltop, with Maggie dealing with the leader instead of Rick. This is a woman who's going to start to become a whole brand new character in a sort of way. And I don't believe that. I don't just believe that because in the comic she was completely different, and then after Glenn's death, that moved her and changed her in such a way she became a leader. We are going to see somebody who always had the potential to become a leader. You know what I mean? We are going to see them own it, and they might even end up taking it as far as the leadership role out of necessity, because nobody around, or the current leader around, won't fucking do it himself. So this is the shit I'm really excited about. But with that said, we have to understand that Maggie's story is going to fall to the back burner a little bit. I don't want to call it the back burner, but we have to understand that there's not going to be a lot there for planting the seeds as far as her takeover as a leader. But there's so much we need to get introduced to. It's okay to say, obviously she's going to be mourning, she's going to be dealing with stuff, but we're going to see the sanctuary, we're going to see the kingdom, we're going to see all these other different worlds. So in between that, we might get little bits and pieces of Maggie making decisions, making connections in the Hilltop, getting people to look at her, like I said before, with more respect, you know, than the current leader. I think that is more respect, more trust, more love, more appreciation, more admiration. They're going to look at Maggie with that because of the confidence in her as she speaks. This is a woman who was, you know, on her deathbed, so sick, not literally, but hey, maybe, we don't know, but she was so sick. She went through this horrific ordeal, witnessed something horrific. And those people at Hilltop might think that that's enough to cripple somebody emotionally, mentally, just tear them down. And they're going to see her walk away from this being like, nope, fucking Negan's going down. And all those people are going to be like, fuck. You know? Gregory, you're fired. So leave your thoughts and opinions down below. This is something that I am so damn excited for, but I also know I got to be patient because a lot of this really might not kick off until season 8. And I'm talking about Maggie owning that shit. But building the seeds of her rise, that's what we're going to get in season 7. I'm very excited for it, and I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And if I can end on one note, I think the actress they got to play Maggie has the potential, and she can do it. I support her all the way. I think the casting overall with The Walking Dead, 9.8 times out of 10, they are getting casting right. I mean, casting is one of the best things they do on the show. I mean, it's almost perfect. With that said, thoughts and opinions in the comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn. Subscribe now.